Hey everyone, Tim Schofield here to do a full review on the Mate 8 from Huawei, a device I got back at CES 2016. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about my experience with it. I've been using it as my daily driver for a while now, so let's go ahead and get into it. For those of you that don't know, Huawei actually manufactured the Nexus 6P. That's why I'm excited to bring you the Mate 8. So let's first talk about design. It is an all-metal design. Now, it's important to note it has a 6-inch display, which gives for a very big phone, so be ready for that. It's definitely a phablet style phone, which also does have a decent amount of weight to it. Over on the right side of the device, you have your volume rockers above your power button, and also the power button has a little bit of texture to it, so you can differentiate between the two. You also notice the metal on the sides a little bit brushed as opposed to the more matte back. Now down at the bottom are the two speaker grills, and it's actually just a single speaker. This is the only one that outputs sound. This is just there for symmetry. You have your charging slot as well. When it comes to the speaker quality, it's just average. It does get a little bit above average loudness though, however it does distort just a little bit. And of course you do have fast charging with that micro USB 2.0. On the left side here you have your SIM card slot. Now when it comes to that SIM card slot, it's actually a dual SIM slot. However, that second SIM slot also acts as a micro SD card slot, so you could have dual SIMs or one SIM card and a micro SD card. Now let's go ahead and pop this guy back in. Check out the top of the device. So up at the top, you'll see I did get maybe a little scratch right there on the edge. It's not too noticeable, but it did happen. You have 3.5mm headphone jack and then a microphone. On the back at the bottom, you'll see just information about the phone. Moving on up, you have your fingerprint scanner along with a 16-megapixel camera on the back with an LED flash. You notice some accents on the fingerprint scanner and camera, which give it a pretty neat and sleek look. When it comes to that fingerprint scanner, you do have a decent amount of surface area. Let's go ahead and test it out. I did find the fingerprint scanner worked very well. It's very accurate. All you really have to do is just kind of set your finger on it and it unlocks the device. It works as well with the display on. You can just go ahead and press and it will unlock as well. I did notice it actually got a little bit worse over time. All I did was delete the fingerprint that wasn't working very well and re-registered, and it's been working just fine now. There's also some actions you can do with that fingerprint scanner, such as take a picture while holding the fingerprint scanner. You can answer a call and also stop your alarm. Now the Huawei Mate 8 has a 6-inch 1080p IPS LCD display, and it's a very good 1080p display. I kind of do wish it did have a 2K 1440p display. However, with 1080p, you're going to get better battery life. However, at this price point, I believe it's $750, you're going to expect a 2K display. It's a solid 1080p display. However, I am missing the 2K displays on other high-end phones. Let's move on to that 16-megapixel camera that is on the back. And I do want to snap a quick picture. Go ahead and focus. You'll see exposure does pop up where you can manually change it, which is always a nice feature. Snapping a picture, it does have very quick shutter speed, so that's never an issue. Now, you also have options down at the bottom, such as beauty, and then you have light painting as well for tail lights on cars, etc. Then you have video and then a time-lapse option. Now, when it comes to video, it does not shoot in 4K. It only shoots in 1080p. And video quality is just average. Now on the bottom right here, you do have filters if you are someone that does like taking pictures with filters. And then on the upper right hand corner, you have a bunch of shooting modes such as HDR, Super Night, Panorama, and then you have a professional mode, which is great for those of you that like to change the ISO, your focus, your white balance, all that good stuff. You can just kind of go ahead and go through and just change it all on your own, which is always a nice addition. I'm going to go back into those modes, and then you'll see you have a slow-mo option. You have watermark, all focus, which is actually for close-ups where you can take a picture and then focus on everything that's even has a different depth to the camera. When it comes to image quality, I would say it's above average. It doesn't come anywhere near where the LG V10 or the Note 5 S6 is. However, it takes pretty good pictures, and you are going to be pleased with them. If you're just a pretty standard picture taker, you'll see very bright light. It still captured a lot of detail on the dog right here. Just overall, a pretty solid camera. However, you're not going to be blown away by the results. Now, with a very large device comes a very large battery. It has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery with fast charge, as I mentioned earlier. Now, here is some statistics with my battery life, and battery life has been the best out of any phone I've ever used. You'll see, make note of that battery percentage I've left. I have 26% battery left, and I've had over 5.5 hours screen on time. I easily get 6 hours screen on time every time. You'll see 34% with 4 hours, 7 minutes, 4 hours, 55 hours with 33% left. Just overall, a powerhouse when it comes down to it. It got me through the day every time. I couldn't even deplete it throughout the day. As you could tell, this is me at the end of the day, you'll see 10:53 p.m. trying to go to sleep, and I could not even deplete the battery while just leaving the screen on playing games, etc. So overall, battery life has been fantastic. You will easily get through a whole day and maybe a half, depending on your usage. Mine has been very heavy, and I still get over 6 hours every day. Now let's go ahead and talk about performance. And the Mate 8 has a Kirin 950 processor. It has either 3 gigabytes or 4 gigabytes of RAM, depending on the variant you have. I have the 3 gigabyte variant, and this device flies whether you're multitasking, playing a high-end game. I have absolutely no issues with performance whatsoever. This guy's a powerhouse. It does a good job with RAM management, nothing getting close in the background too crazily. They do have options within the software. I'll talk about this in a second. You might want to tweak with those, but overall, I have absolutely no complaints when it comes to performance, whether I'm doing basic tasks or heavy tasks. Now I want to move on to the software, and this is a huge part about this device because it comes with a very heavily skinned version of EMUI over Android. Let's go to the bottom. It does come with Android 6.0 Marshmallow, which is a very good thing out of the box. Shout out to Huawei for doing that. However, like I said, it is very heavily skinned, and some people might like that, some of you might not. It is on EMUI, Emotion UI 4.0. Now, I first want to talk about the lock screen, and you'll see you do have a quick camera shortcut and also some really cool wallpapers. Now, watch this. If I turn it off, turn it back on, it changes every single time that I go into my lock screen. A really neat feature. I don't know why, but I do really like it a lot. It comes with some cool ones as well. You can swipe up to get to your keypad. Obviously, I'm using the fingerprint scanner. Or you can swipe from the bottom and you get to some shortcuts such as media controls. You have your covers, you have share. You also have some quick toggles such as flashlight, calculator, camera, record. And then we can jump into settings, and this is where you can actually, let me go ahead and unlock, where you can change the covers and change what is actually on the lock screen. Now, the lock screen is not all great. You cannot pull down the status bar at all, and you'll see I do have notifications. I cannot act upon them at all at certain times when on the lock screen, which is definitely a downside. You have to actually unlock the device and then pull down the status bar to view or act upon your notifications. And speaking of notifications, check this out. There's text there, and you cannot see it because of the notification shade in the background. Definitely a downside and an oversight. I don't know why that's included and hasn't been fixed yet. There's also a garbage can to get rid of all of them, and also you'll have random ones pop up such as log service tip. It says it's ongoing. I'm remove it. I don't know exactly what it is. You have steps that you've taken certain days. You can swipe over actually, and it takes you to your shortcuts, which is a nice little feature such as flashlight. You have all your various toggles, and you can swipe over to go between the two. And then if you do not have any notifications at all, if I swipe these away, and then you pull down, it goes straight up. Let me swipe away steps as well. It's going to go straight into your shortcuts. And then, of course, with the huge 6-inch display, it has a nice one-handed mode. You just kind of swipe over on the soft key buttons down at the bottom, and it just kind of makes the screen a little bit smaller. You can completely use the phone as normal, and you can just tap out of it to get into full screen mode. One thing I really don't like is the recent apps screen, how it goes left to right. One reason I don't really like it is because if any text is moving, if any of these applications are moving, you cannot select them. So for example, if I swipe over and it slows down on settings, I can't select it until it physically stops moving, which doesn't necessarily happen on all phones. It's just a little annoying. If it's slowing down, I'm going to want to select on it, but I can't until it completely stops. Now also, you'll notice sometimes these notifications will show up on the lock screen. However, they are not actionable. There are in only one way. I cannot expand these emails. You see, I have 2 new emails, one from myself, one from LinkedIn, and the only way you can expand it is by swiping over from left to right. Swiping from right to left does nothing. Expanding them does absolutely nothing. If I swipe from left to right, it will ask to unlock the device, and then it will take you into that specific notification. That's it. That's all it does. I do want to make a note. You can go to the notification center, which changes where notifications show up, whether it's on your lock screen or not. However, the only action you can take is that swipe over. Now with the skin, there's a lot of added settings such as smart assistant settings. Now with the navigation bar down at the bottom, you can add an open notification panel. You can change the order of the buttons, so that's really nice, and it's awesome that you can customize those. There is motion control, which flip to mute to pick up. You can tilt to move icons and widgets, raise to ear to make calls. You can you have knuckle gestures as well. This was actually mentioned in their keynote. Now, smart screenshot, use your knuckles. You can actually, it senses you using your knuckles. So if I go to it, I'll show you guys. So if you knock twice firmly with your knuckle, it takes a screenshot where you can go ahead and draw, you can share, you can edit it, all that stuff. If you use 2 knuckles, it will actually start recording what is on your screen. I'm not going to enable this, but it's going to actually do a screen recording if you want that. And finally, you can use 1 knuckle and draw an enclosed region. However, it's hard if they do scrolling. You'll see right here, if I do that, there you go. It's going to cut out what I just circled. However, you'll notice when there's a scrolling screen, it can sometimes not register that it is your knuckle. There's a floating dock as well if you want to go ahead and have a little button right here where you can press it, and then it's going to bring up your lock button, your recent apps button, all that good stuff. I don't use that myself, however, that might be beneficial for you. Overall, you can see it is heavily themed when it comes to the settings screen. Like I said, the notification pull-down bar. Also, the launcher does not have an app drawer. I definitely needed to install. I have Nova Launcher installed right now, which is just fine. It runs very smoothly. So I'd say when it comes down to it, there are definitely benefits to EMUI, and there's also downsides to it. It just kind of seems like it's very intrusive on the Android operating system, especially when it comes to that text where some things you can't read, they just blend in with the background. I'm going to go ahead and swipe that away. You can't expand screenshots for whatever reason. However, you can obviously tap them to go into them or swipe them away. But anyways, that's my full review of the Huawei Mate 8. When it comes down to it, two things. Battery life and performance are the two amazing things on this device. The screen and camera are both good. Software is definitely a personal thing if you like skins or not. It's nice that it does come with Marshmallow. However, it is a larger device as well, so be ready for that. Overall, a very sleek design, however. I do like the looks of it a good amount. The fingerprint scanner works very well. As I said, I had one little hiccup, but I just re-registered it, and it works just fine now. But anyways, very promising from Huawei. I did like this device. I liked using it a lot, especially when it came to that great battery life. But overall, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed my review video. Lots more to come, so make sure you subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. All links are in the description video below. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching.